Today we cancel Pink News, which is a gay news outlet based in the UK. You'll be, I'm sure, shocked to discover that the people who work for a British gay news site called Pink News apparently are not fans of yours truly. Me, of all people. I can't imagine what sort of problem they could have with me. In fact, Pink News has in recent years written several outraged articles attacking me for some of the things I've said on this very show. I'm not ashamed to admit that each time they publish an article like that, I openly weep as I read it. Because all I want is for everyone to like me. That should be obvious to anyone who listens to the show. My main goal is to say really popular mainstream things. It's just that I'm bad at it. Which brings us to the latest from Pink News. The headline is, Daily Wire's Matt Walsh compares trans healthcare to pedophilia and Nazi science in disgusting rant. Disgusting. Pink News. I am a person with feelings too, you know. Anyway, the article says, the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh has publicly compared trans healthcare to experimentation, molestation, abuse, and rape. In an episode of his podcast, The Matt Walsh Show, released on Monday, titled The Evil Quacks Mutilating Our Children, Walsh went on a 20-minute rant about gender ideology. Actually, it was like 17 or 18 minutes, in fairness. Walsh, who thinks the use of face masks to curb the spread of coronavirus has created a society of adults who fear breathing fresh air, said that trans youth should not receive gender-affirming healthcare because they literally can't make good long-term decisions. He continued, quote, this is also why we say adolescents can't consent to sex. Dr. Johanna Olsen-Kennedy wants to undermine the legal, scientific, and philosophical case against pedophilia. And that's not a coincidence, by the way. Check back in 10 years or maybe sooner, and she'll be explaining with equal passion why we must be tolerant towards adult-child sexual relationships. Gender-affirming healthcare for trans youth is vital in reducing mental health problems and suicidal ideation and has been backed by every major medical association. Okay, let's pause here for a moment. Now, most of what they've written so far is true. I did say what they've quoted me as saying. I said all of that because it's true. I don't apologize for it, and I don't wish to moderate or water down my points at all. I said what I said, and I meant it. We run into problems, though, in that last paragraph, where it says, again, gender-affirming healthcare for trans youth is vital in reducing mental health problems and suicidal ideation and has been backed by every major medical association. Two major issues here. First, there's the term gender-affirming healthcare. And the second is there's the claim that drugging and mutilating children is the best way to stop them from killing themselves. As for the first thing, you may notice how there is no other context where surgeries and, quote, healthcare are administered to affirm something. Now, to affirm means to state as a fact or assert strongly. It can also mean offering emotional support and encouragement. Since when have you ever heard of an emotionally supportive surgery? Now, you may say that all cosmetic surgery sort of fits that bill, but nobody calls a nose job a nose-affirming surgery. And besides, gender ideologues would say that gender-affirming procedures, quote unquote, are not merely cosmetic. So the question remains, when have you heard of a medical procedure that has the purpose of affirming? When have you heard of medicine whose purpose is to make or support an assertion? In fact, when have you even heard of a therapist whose primary goal is simply to affirm, that is, encourage or assert as fact whatever their patients say to them? The goal of a therapist is supposed to be oftentimes the opposite of that. And the goal of surgery and medicine is to treat or heal an ailment or an injury or a disease. It's not to affirm anything. Now, the gender ideologues aren't simply misusing medicine. They're attempting to turn it on its head. They seek to fundamentally redefine the very purpose of medicine, just as they seek to redefine sex and biology. And they seek to do this while pretending that they aren't doing anything radical or extreme at all. Indeed, they seek to do it while scoffing at anyone who raises the slightest objection. They've come along, subverted millennia of human experience, wisdom, and knowledge, and they insist not only that we allow them to do it, but that we don't even raise a question about it. And most people seem willing to comply with those demands. I'm not, and I never will be. Never, not ever. I will continue to insist on the truth. The truth that all of us and all people everywhere have always known up until 19 seconds ago. One of those truths is that there are only males and females. That's it, that's all. There are a small minority of people who suffer birth defects that affect the appearance of their genitalia, which has nothing to do with transgenderism anyway, but still there are only two sexes. No other human sexes have ever been discovered or ever will be. Another truth is that the purpose of medicine is still, despite what the gender ideologues claim, to treat and heal. So when a physically healthy young girl is put on puberty blockers, then hormones, and then her breasts are chopped off, what physical ailment is being treated? What is the disease that these doctors are trying to suppress or cure? You can't say that they're treating gender dysphoria because gender dysphoria is a mental condition, just like anorexia is a mental condition. You don't treat mental conditions by altering the body to coincide more closely with the patient's delusional mental state. That's not how you heal mental illness. So again, what disease is being treated by chopping off a girl's healthy breasts? Womanhood? Is that the disease? Well, whether the gender ideologues will say it out loud or not, that is how they see it. That womanhood or manhood is the disease. And I would call that pretty disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, the emotional blackmail that these people use is not only disgusting, but simply evil. They say that we must drug and mutilate kids or else the kids will kill themselves. They say studies prove them right. They're lying. These people are liars, and everything they say, everything should be ignored. In fact, studies show that suicide rates among trans people remain sky high after surgery. But that's not even the point. The point is that we just now started doing this kind of thing to thousands of kids all at once. When the gender ideologues start talking about all the studies proving the efficacy and safety of their procedures, you know they're lying because there can't have been any reliable long-term studies on this subject. There hasn't been a large enough sample size to study yet. This current crop of children, they are the guinea pigs. The mad scientists are running experiments on them. They're one big test group. The assumption, the claim, the hope is the assertion is that drugging them and chopping off their body parts will work out well in the long term. There is no data to support that assumption. There can't be. And any sane person's common sense and moral intuition militates against those assumptions. Well, maybe I'm wrong a little bit. There was one long-term study that comes to mind, one experiment conducted decades ago whose results can now be observed. As I've mentioned before, John Money tested these gender theories that he came up with on two young boys in the 1970s. And how did that go? Well, both of them went on to kill themselves. So those were the long-term results. And these are the facts. Pink News doesn't want to hear the facts. They don't want you to hear the facts either, which is why they ended their hit piece this way. Quote, Walsh's social media posts about the podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter remain live, and his podcast remains available through Apple Podcasts, despite each platform having policies against hate speech. He also remains verified on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Pink News has approached Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Apple for comments. Well, of course they have. They know their position is indefensible. They know it. They know everything I'm saying is 100% obviously true. They have no counter-argument, no rebuttal, none, nothing. All they could do is run to the principal's office and try to get me suspended or expelled. And maybe they'll succeed eventually, I don't know. But that won't change the truth. And it won't stop me from speaking it. And it also won't stop me from saying to Pink News, you're canceled. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.